understand. All right, is the White House out of order, stopping Texas from defending its border? As you may have noticed, the White House is determined to let as many illegal aliens into the United States as possible, with migrant mobs as big as the crowds of Gutfeld fans at Eastern State Correctional.
Greg! 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 Greg!
Stop it! All right. Grandpa Joe even told them to surge to the border like it was a new slogan for Taco Bell.
I would, in fact, make sure that we immediately surge to the border. All those people are seeking asylum. They deserve to be heard. That's who we are. We're a nation that says if you want to flee and you're fleeing oppression, you should come.
And ay caramba, did they ever listen to him? He's been waving in illegal immigrants like they're kids with freshly washed hair. But doesn't Joe know this invasion exhausts America's resources the way he exhausts the White House plumbing? After all, it wasn't too long ago when then Senator Joe Biden spoke against sanctuary cities. Here's Joe in 2007 when he could still exit a stage without 2 guide dogs and a Sherpa. Roll it.
Would you allow these cities to ignore the federal law regarding the reporting of illegal immigrants and, in fact, provide sanctuary to these immigrants?
The reason the cities ignore the federal law is the fact that there is no funding at the federal level to provide for the kind of enforcement at the federal level you need.
Yes or no? Would you allow the cities to ignore the federal law?
No.
Of course, that was well before Joe became a spokesman for Life Alert. Since then, Joe's learned to ignore a lot of things, like the border crisis, his extra grandchild, and the stain spreading on the front of his pants. But it's not a battle between Americans and migrants or Republicans and Democrats. It's a fight between a bloated, power-hungry federal government and the states that get screwed bearing the costs. But a few governors are fighting back. Texas Gov. Greg Abbott and Florida Gov. Ron DeSantis have been doing a great job of sending illegal aliens from border states to states whose policies have Americans fleeing to, well, Texas and Florida. Dems keep touting their sanctuary cities, right? They can't shut up about how caring they are. Turns out, though, there's only so many landscapers and illegal nannies the elites can employ before they realize, hey, these people want to stick around. So now all they do is whine about the overflowing migrants. They're like bartenders at last call. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. I guess when the sanctuary is at their doorstep, they're not so selfless, are they? But I like to think of it as reverse socialism. Lefties demand to share other people's resources. Now it's time for them to share the pain. Martha's Vineyard saw a few dozen migrants and a few days later shipped them all out faster than Amazon Prime. And now Abbott is fighting for his right to defend his state from this ongoing invasion at the southern border. In a statement from yesterday, Abbott said, the federal government has broken the compact between the United States and the states. The executive branch of the U.S. has a constitutional duty to enforce federal laws protecting states, including immigration laws on the books right now. President Biden has refused to enforce those laws and has even violated them. The result is that he has smashed records for illegal immigration. Yeah, that was a lot of words, huh? Abbott has invoked Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3. Exactly what you said, Kat, of the Constitution, arguing that the U.S. is being invaded and his state has the right to act on it. And now not only is Biden ignoring the law, he's sending feds to take down the razor wire set up along the border, which is like the cops protecting you by removing your windows and painting "Help Yourselves" on the garage door. Earlier this week, the Supreme Court ruled that Biden could do that, but Abbott vows to put the wire back up as fast as the feds can take it down. Because as legal scholars note, Abbott isn't defying the ruling since the court didn't order Texas to do or not to do anything. And yet bozos like Beto O'Rourke call this a violation of law. But with his track record, the only contest he hasn't lost yet is Miss Black America 2024. Of course, Dems are terrified that illegal aliens will hurt themselves trying to get through the wire. But if it was left up to the Dems, they would replace the wire with silly string. Sorry, you don't keep out invaders by lining the border with silk sheets and cocoa butter. And it's incredibly easy to avoid razor wire. I've avoided razor wire every day of my life. You know, I've never walked past an auto repair shop and thought, if I can climb through that barbed wire, I can play with that friendly pit bull. It's always a pit bull. You see, these barriers and deterrents are meant to protect the border. That's what the border means, dummies. It's a line separating two areas, and you're not supposed to cross that line without permission. Every country has them, and there are all sorts of laws about it. Think of those rubber things you put down at the supermarket checkout that separates your Wonder Bread and mayo from the guy behind you with rice, beans, and pig knuckles. It clears up immediately what is yours and what is mine. They're what keeps one area distinct from another. And if you don't think that's important, then listen to Democrats bitch about cultural appropriation. Huh? Yeah, they say, you all can come over here, sleep in our schools and airports, but you better not wear a sombrero on Cinco de Mayo. That's a barrier. But that's the great thing about being a Democrat. You only need to enforce the stuff you like. Case in point, Texas Rep. Joaquin Castro is telling Biden to take control of the Texas National Guard, hoping to replace Don't Mess with Texas with Bend Over for Biden. And now some are calling for Texas to secede from the U.S. And they have the experience. Texas was its own country back in the 1800s when it was founded by ZZ Top. So, are we on the brink of another civil war? Or will Grandpa Joe just take a pill and a nap and forget he ever abdicated his oath of office in the first place? One thing's for sure, this ain't just about Texas. Once illegal aliens get into the country, they can go just about anywhere they want. Do states have rights, or is the president a king? When you're a Democrat, it all depends on who's in power.
Oh, no, look, I agree with that guy, Joaquin. He was good in that movie, The Joker, by the way. You know, I went to school with the real Joker. Yeah, I beat him in arm wrestling. It's a true story, not a joke. But there's not gonna be any Texit. I mean, I got so much of Mexico north of the border at this point, they're gonna call it Texaco. It's like Mexico, but with oil wells. Black gold, Texas tea. Dong 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 dong.
Let's welcome tonight's guest. He was recently voted guy most likely to get robbed on the way home. Fox News contributor Tom Shalhoub. His act is perfect for people who hate crowds. Actor, writer, and comedian Jamie Lissow. She's known for intensity and lack of bone density. New York Times bestselling author and Fox News contributor Kat Tiff. And he trims his nose hairs with a windmill. New York Times bestselling author, comedian, and former NWA world champion Connor.
I'm figuring.
Tom, could this end up devolving into yet another civil war like the one you loved so much when it first happened?
Well, Greg, I'm telling you, I'm so glad you got the reference. You know, when I send in my Joe Biden videos, your young staff is like, oh, I think it's funny, but I don't really get the reference. And I'm like, Greg will get it.
Yes, of course. Texas tea.
I think this is amazing. And, you know, going into an election year, this is going to be a very bad look for the Biden administration. So Abbott's putting up the fence, and he's going to keep cutting it down all year. They are literally cutting holes in the border wall. How is this more proof that the federal government wants to flood our country with illegal aliens? So, yeah, this is going to be a very bad look. I don't think it's necessarily, I'm not worried. I'm not angry at Amy Coney Barrett. I don't understand really the intricacies of the
They didn't
federal
explain
law.
it that well.
No, they didn't. But the thing is, I guess the federal government has the right to cut the fence down, and Texas can keep putting it back up. So let's see how that looks going over for the next year. They're going to keep cutting it down? We'll see.
I guess Phil Collins was right about those illegal aliens. I have no idea what that song was about. You know, Jamie, you're used to people telling you to keep out of their lives.
Damn.
Do you see Texas and America heading towards a divorce, much like the one you experienced?
Happy New Year.
Wow. Yeah. I wonder which side will be like my wife and which side will not get anything. Have you guys noticed that since Biden has been talking recently, now that when I watch Tom Shalhoub do Biden, it's now like Biden's doing an impression of Tom Shalhoub.
It's true.
Like an exaggerated.
It's true.
My uncle lives in Texas, and he was telling me it's just absolute chaos down there, but he is very, very against illegal immigration. I should say he does own a shop that only sells razor wire. Biden said he could just this afternoon. He was like, "You look at my record. I have always been in support of closing borders. I've always been a Barnes and Noble guy."
I saw that one coming so far away.
I just feel like it's upsetting. The whole thing's upsetting, and I don't know. I just feel like if we're gonna put an old guy in office, who better to yell "Get off my property" than Joe Biden?
That one was much better.
Yeah. You should have put razor wire around that joke.
Oh.
Kat, where do you stand on this? You're a states' rights lady.
Well, that would be an interesting way to look at it. Would be the 10th Amendment. Remember the 10th Amendment?
I was just thinking that.
You don't know what it is, do you?
The 10th Amendment, thou shalt not steal.
It's okay
Comes
because
after the 9th.
No, it's okay because
Thank you.
so close. Because so the 10th Amendment's not a thing anymore, even though it never really went away, which was that all rights that are not specifically enumerated in the Constitution, they belong to the states. So that there's really nothing that talks about migration in the Constitution. But then that would mean that the federal government wouldn't be able to do anything about it. So it would be interesting to see what would happen with that. I would like to see the 10th Amendment make a comeback. But I think that the whole putting up the razor wire while someone else is taking it down is just an excellent microcosm of the whole immigration debate in this entire country since I can remember. Because and I'm not talking about the people, I'm talking about the government. One side likes to be like, you're me, and the other side's like, well, you're stupid. And nothing changes when the system is completely broken, obviously. It's so hard to come here legally, and then look at the border. I don't think I need to say much more about that. And also another microcosm is Joe Biden saying, oh, no way on sanctuary cities. And then the political climate kind of changes and you say something else. I don't know how many people actually have principles or how many people really care. But, I'm pessimistic about most things.
He's been on every side of every issue. If you live long enough, you will turn into a hypocrite every 3 years. It just keeps coming back. Tyrus, okay, there are 25 states supporting Abbott. There's a civil war. Are we going to be on the same side?
Not in the first 8 minutes. Because I got to be sure. So I might have to put hands on you a little bit. Listen, I think it's a wonderful idea that the federal government is going to come in and take out the razor wire. I would like to be sent there on assignment. All I need is a lawn chair, a little music, and a camcorder to watch these equity hires kill themselves trying to take down barbed wire. Hearing a grown man complaining about his stiletto heels or killing him while he's cutting this and no one's holding his Yorkie is going to be hilarious. Understand who's been working for the federal government. They're going to have, and then someone's going to be up there, I am the first, whatever, to go cut this thing, and then 4 hours later, they are also the first person to die of asphyxiation by cutting these wires. So let them point the way. Please do.
That's what Joe should do. He should make it a historic first.
Yeah.
We have a trans, non-binary person of color to cut the razor wire.
Yes. That's exactly what it's going to be. Then they're going to hire, this is the burn, then they're going to hire a commission to investigate why the wire is not cooperating, because everyone knows that razor barbed wire was made during white supremacy. So therefore, there's going to be a whole racial investigation of the systemic racism of barbed wire. So please, I'll be fine. A little chair, a cooler with some beverages, and a camcorder. So I can be like, yeah, you're doing real good, if they. Keep it up.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.